What's going on, Tamers? East here, and with the EX09 Versus Monsters set releasing relatively soon for the Digimon Card Game, I thought it'd be a fun idea to go over some of the major archetypes from this set. In this video, we're going to be covering the Wind Guardian trait Digimon, but if you're interested in some of the other cards from the set, definitely check out the channel for more. And with that out of the way, let's dive into some of the new Wind Guardians Digimon. When the initial wave of support was released for the Wind Guardian cards in the BT21 set, it seemed like a lot of their effects were focused and revolved around unsuspending and suspending your and your opponent's Digimon for lots of benefits. And it seems like with the EX9 additional support, that trend is going to continue. EX9 also added some basic support that a lot of other archetypes in the game have for the Wind Guardians. In this case, your Pumamon being your cost -1 evolve when you evolve into a Wind Guardian trait Digimon. Your Parasaurmon is like your generic blocker, but also has the ability to suspend other Digimon whenever he's suspended. So in this case, you can essentially stop 2 Digimon from attacking with just him. The level 5 Tropimon is probably one of the most interesting cards printed for the Wind Guardians in this set, allowing you to basically freeze an opponent's Digimon or Tamer for a turn, and his effect all turns whenever he sees one of the other Wind Guardian trait Digimon on your side of the board suspend, he can evolve at 0 cost. The new level 6 Hydramon here, taking inspiration from the original artwork drawn by Koki, aka the Hydrassi, has some pretty interesting effects as well. Being able to suspend one of your Wind Guardian trait Digimon to actually reduce his play cost by 4, so he can become a 7 cost hard drop level 6 if you need him to be. He can also lock down Digimon similar to the Tropiamon or Tamers for a single turn. He also has the added benefit of allowing you to DNA Digivolve 2 Digimon on board whenever one of your Wind Guardian trait Digimon are played or evolved into. And in this case, he sees himself with this effect. This makes for some pretty interesting scenarios where you can immediately play down a Hydramon and then go into your Cernamon as your level 7 DNA Digivolve. And then finally, your level 7 Cernamon here, having Alliance and Blocker, also lets you play down 7 cost or lower trait Wind Guardian Digimon whenever he is evolved into. Additionally, whenever one of your Wind Guardian trait Digimon are removed from the board, from your hand you can just play another 7 cost or lower Wind Guardian trait Digimon. So he is a great way of like recursing the board, and if your opponent can't take him out, he's going to keep getting that effect. Keep in mind though, that is once per turn. And then one thing I failed to mention whenever you're evolving into him, if you do DNA Digivolve into this guy, he's going to allow you to bottom deck 2 of your opponent's Digimon, no questions asked. Levels, costs, anything, just any 2 Digimon. Some of my early takeaways, taking a look at some of the new EX9 support for the Wind Guardian trait Digimon, is that once you get into your level 6 Griffinmon from BT21, you could have some pretty cool combos at your disposal. For example, when you evolve into this guy for 3, you don't have to DNA Digivolve. In this case, you just do the regular evolution and you still get the effects. You can play down a level 4, and in this case, you can play down something like the Parasaurmon from before. And then when he attacks, you can do a couple of really cool things. So he lets you evolve a Digimon here, that's into a Wind Guardian trait Digimon for free. So in this case, we're going to evolve into a Tropiamon from EX9. EX9 comes down, he says, okay, I suspend an opponent's Digimon or Tamer, and it's locked for a turn. And then we can go back and reuse the pending Griffimon's Alliance effect. So we can use this to rest the Tropiamon. When the Tropiamon's rested by an effect, he sees this and he says, I can actually evolve into a level 6. In this case, we're going to evolve into the level 6 Hydramon. Again, that's a 0 cost evolve, thank you to the Griffamon. The Hydramon also lets us rest an opponent's Digimon or Tamer, and then again, it's locked for a single turn, so you're locking down 2 things on the board. And finally, you have 2 checks at 24,000. If you don't already have jamming in your first stack. Once those 2 checks are made, while you could have used the Hydramon's effect from before to just go into the level 7 Cernamon, you didn't want to have your first attack fizzle. So now that you're at 0 memory, you can still DNA Digivolve these 2 guys into the Cernamon. Level 7 here, he's going to let you play down another level or cost 7 or lower Digimon, in this case the Dedamon. I think the Dedamon here is actually really useful just because he has Evade, which makes him kind of tricky to kill. But because you're at 0 cost evolution here, it's still your turn and you have a new Digimon on board, you can actually swing with this guy if you so choose. So in this case, you get another 2 checks at a ridiculous amount of DP. Again, I think it's 24,000, if not more. Or if you have jamming, it doesn't really matter. And then at the end of the turn, whenever your memory would tip over in some way, you can use the Tropiamon's effect to unsuspend one of your Wind Guardian trait Digimon. In this case, you can either choose the level 5, or you can choose to unsuspend Cernamon. And because Cernamon has blocker, and you might have something like the Cherrymon's Inheritance effect, you can essentially soak up 2 attacks. On top of that, if your opponent tries to make an attack that might actually take out the Cernamon here, you could always have the option of the Ace of the Puppetmon here to de-Digivolve, then you could block or force the attack into something else or whatever it might be. So it seems like with the new support from EX9, the Wind Guardian trait cards have a way to do a ton of damage in a single turn, while also setting themselves up pretty good defensively in order to stop counterplays from your opponent, and then they can just win the following turn if their board still remains. And so that's going to wrap up our really quick overview of the Wind Guardian trait cards in the EX9 Versus Monsters set. I didn't go too far into detail with some of the plays I think you could make, so I'm sure a lot of folks out there are really cooking up some crazy stuff. If you've got some ideas and you want to share them, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll definitely be reading there as well. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.